Now, China has earned a good reputation for the huge progress it has made in lifting its 700 million people out of poverty in the matter of a few decades. How was this possible?
I think there are two things which are less disputable. The one is sustained high economic growth. The second is the remarkable poverty reduction over the last 35 years. And there are two actually major driving force which actually we consider put into the way that today we see the result. First one is that in from 1978 to 1987, and China had maintained very high level of agricultural growth.
Very high level.
Very high level agricultural growth rate, and in those periods of time, and most farmers actually, or 90% of farmers actually got income from agriculture. Therefore, to improve agricultural growth would definitely help farmers to get income increased. So that is one area where we explain why we have achieved remarkable poverty reduction in those days. From 1978 to 1987.
The first
and
period.
by any means, by any measures, that 50% of poverty people already got out of poverty. 50%.
So that's about 300 million. Are we talking about 350?
Yeah, we use different measures. So if we use today's poverty line in 2011 constant price, this means 2,400 yuan, and 2,800 yuan in 2014 year constant price.
So 2,400 yuan would be about 400 US dollars. And that's
today.
an annual income.
That annual income is the poverty line. It's the poverty line. Today we use poverty line, new poverty line. So if we use that poverty line to measure and how many people actually were living under poverty in end of 1970s, and that was something about 770 million people living in the poverty line. Now today, only 50 million people living in poverty line. So this means over the last 35 years, and more than 700 million people got out of poverty. So that is the figure. And the reason why, because the first of the agricultural development is the first, and the second one followed by the rural industry.
The rural industry.
And massive labor mobility and the transformation, labor mobility.
A lot of people came to the city to work, right? The migrant worker, let's say, that phenomenon. We all know basically this huge Spring Festival migration is
1990, people remember in the end of 1990s, the massive labor mobility, and during the Spring Festival. Now we're coming for the next few days, we see very similar
started
pattern.
back then.
That started. So that actually provided a huge opportunity for farmers to move in to get income. So that's the area where we see that the first one for agriculture, second one the rural industry, and the third one for the labor mobility. And we followed again for the very rapid urbanization. So those actually constitute the reasons why China has achieved remarkable poverty reduction record.
Yes. Right now we're talking about some 50 million still living under poverty. And China is launching what it calls a targeted measures in its poverty alleviation campaign since 2013. What is the definition of this?
Very different from 1980s, 1990s. That those days when we talk about poverty, and we actually talk about underdevelopment, and most people were poor, and almost everybody were poor, and along with the economic development and that's increasing inequality. and the rich get rich and the poor get poor. So increasing the inequality. And over the last 30 years, the inequality has increased from 0.2 Gini coefficient into 0.2 almost 5.
Almost 5, yeah.
And therefore, and this situation, and it's very difficult to help the poor people to get rid of poverty because the inequality is too high. Therefore, in order to really tap those people who are still trapped in the poverty under such a rapid transformation process, and the government decided to take a different approach and called targeted poverty reduction program. Yeah.
Meaning?
So the three components here. First, we need to understand who are the poor.
Yes. Where are they?
Yeah. Who is the poor? Where they are? And the second one is what they need, what their real need. And the third one is what policy and what method actually can help them effectively. So 3 areas.
Yes. Has this practice achieved some initial results in your understanding?
And the first one, and for a very long time, and we have problem of these 3 areas. One is that we actually trying very hardly find who are the poor people, and since the new poverty reduction program started, and the Chinese government actually invested a lot, in terms of organization capacity to actually target who are the poor people. So, and that actually the poor people are identified as the registered, as the registered household. If you are the poor, you are living under the poverty line, then you are registered actually into the poor household. So this is actually remarkable. Very remarkable since the last 30 years. Remarkable. We haven't solved this problem. No, this is basic solved. And the second one is that we need, as long as we know who are the poor, we need to understand what's the problem causing. So what do you need, and then to provide proper measures for this.
Yeah. So looking ahead, we have the goal of getting these 50 million people out of poverty by 2020. Are we on track? Are you optimistic?
Yeah, I think that basically, and because in order to achieve these objectives by 2020 to reduce these 50 million people, and the various areas actually put, firstly to ensure the organization capacity. So we have to make the people who work in the rural areas. Therefore, and the government actually organized the working team, and each poor village has the person, actually, and each poor village has also the partnership, from the business group, from the government organizations, and we have to make all measures available, and organization capacity, organization resources available to support. To provide services. So secondly, we have to make the financial resources available, and it is essentially important to provide money. Otherwise, to improve the infrastructure, to improve and also others, and improve the capacity for training everything. So I think basically the Chinese government is on the right track for doing this. Yeah.
But it's still remarkable to think that by 2020, which is 3 years from now, China will be totally lifted out of poverty.
I would say this depends, but the Chinese government actually announced very clearly by 2020, and the China will actually reduce the poverty, reduce all the poor people by the definition of income. Poverty definition means by the 2,400. 2011 constant price and 2,800 RMB per capita per year, 2014 constant price. So from that point of view, I think basically China will reach that objective.